husky dogs tell us we're in the land of Eskimos. We are visiting the Eskimos who live on the west coast of Alaska. This is the village of Unalakleet. The winter sun is low and seems far away. Here Eskimos live in log cabins, for there are forests nearby. Inside one of these homes, Achabuk and his family are asleep on the floor. Their bed is of reindeer skins and blankets. Their pillow is a log. It is morning and time for Achabuk to be getting up. He is wearing a spotted reindeer skin parkie. Father's first job is to start a fire with these shavings. The stove was given to him long ago by men who came to Alaska looking for gold. Outside it is very cold, but the room will heat up quickly. Now Achabuk goes quietly out through the doorway without waking the children. Can you see what he's bringing back? A piece of hard-packed snow to be melted in a kettle for breakfast tea. The rest of the family are awake now. Achabuk's daughter wears boots of white reindeer skin. Her brother has sealskin boots. After breakfast, time to go to school. Even Eskimo children hate to be tardy. The first thing is the oath of allegiance to the United States. Here the primary boys and girls are singing a song with gestures. Back at home, their parents are busy. Father has to keep a supply of stove wood at hand. His frozen breath gives us an idea of how cold it is, 30 degrees below zero. Cold or not, Mother has to hang out the wash. Look where she keeps baby brother. While Mother works, Big Brother Anagik is out along the river chopping ice to be melted into water. Water for drinking and for cooking is precious during the long Eskimo winter. Anagik has brought his sled with him, and his dogs will pull the load of ice back to the village. Farther out on this same frozen river, the older women of the village are fishing. They must chop holes through the thick ice. This is Kairok with a long-handled ice pick. It cuts out a fishing hole in a short time. To get out the chopped ice, Kairok uses a frying pan from her kitchen. She finds good use for those mittens she knitted last summer. Now for the fishing pole. Not a very fancy outfit, but the other Eskimo women seem to be catching plenty of fish. Here's the way it's done. It's a tom cod, which freezes almost as soon as it hits the ice. An average Eskimo family uses thousands of fish like this during a winter. Enough for today, so Kairok puts the fish into a woven grass bag. Back in the village, Naluk is packing his sled for a trapping expedition. Next, he harnesses his lead dog. And the lead dog is trained to follow Naluk's commands. The dog out of line is just learning to run with the team. Wooden tripods mark the trail out beyond the village. These markers help keep from getting lost if a storm comes up. An Eskimo fisherman, Kutuk, is setting his traps on a river. Sections of fencing like this are lowered through openings cut into the river ice. Joined together across the river, they keep fish from going upstream except for one space where Kutuk places the fish traps. These traps, made of chicken wire, are open at one end. With the river entirely blocked off, the only place for any fish to go is into Kutuk's traps. At least, that's what he hopes. We'll see whether or not he was right when we return to the traps with him a week later. Was Kutuk right? He certainly was. Here are about 150 pounds of fish. Even in winter, you'll catch plenty of fish if you know how to catch them. Kutuk empties this fish trap about once a week all during the winter. He will trade his catch at the trading post for a new axe or perhaps a gun. Kutuk is 76 years old, but this hard work seems to agree with him. Back in the village, this giant sealskin stretched to dry in the sun tells us it is spring and time to hunt seals. Archibald, who is the best hunter in the village, is going to take us on a hunt. We go with him over the frozen ice on the Bering Sea to the edge of the ice field 3 miles offshore. Leaving the dog team behind, Archibald pulls his kayak to the edge of the ice. The snowshoes have kept him from breaking through thin ice. Now he can remove them. He makes sure the ice at the edge is solid. The top of the kayak is light-colored. Archibald wears a white parkie and hopes the seals will mistake him and the kayak for a piece of floating ice. The kayak is very light, being made of giant seal skins stretched over a wooden frame. Getting into the kayak without tipping it is quite a trick. Archibald does it by grasping the wooden shaft of his ice pick with one hand, at the same time holding the rim of the kayak opening to make it steady. Ivory pegs on the side of the kayak hold his harpoon and ice pick. Now off to hunt seals among the floating cakes of ice. But look!
Most of the Eskimo people in the world live in the Arctic regions of North America. Altogether, there are only about 35,000 Eskimos. Here in the frozen north, the land is barren, and food is very scarce. Our villages are small and far apart. In this Arctic region, the summers are short and cool. Our winters last for nearly 6 months, and are very cold and stormy. My home is one of the snow-covered houses in a village called Point Hope. It is on the shore of the Arctic Ocean in northwestern Alaska. Our lighthouse helps us to find our way across the flat, snow-covered land. Even in the summer, only a few ships come to Point Hope. None at all come after the winter storms begin in November. Our people depend upon the cold waters of the Arctic Ocean for much of their living. Alaska is a territory of the United States, and the Eskimos who live here are American citizens. My name is Harry. Vera is my sister. In the cold winter weather, the fish tossed up on the shore are quickly frozen. Whenever we find frozen fish, we pick them up. We are always watching for food from the sea. Whenever my father hears a seal barking, he tells us to be quiet. The sound of voices frightens the sea animals. From seals, we obtain food and clothing. When Father kills a sea animal, he throws out a hook on the end of a long line to haul the catch ashore. Our people hunt walrus and small whales only during the summer. But seal hunting goes on all through the year. Sometimes we hunt them from the shore, sometimes from boats, and other times we catch them by cutting holes in the ice. It is too cold for us to have farms. Only by hunting and fishing can we get enough to eat. Even the seabirds are used for food. The loon my father has shot is brought to shore in the same way as the seal. This big loon will make a fine meal for our family. If we Eskimos were not good hunters, we would all starve to death. Father uses a homemade harness to drag the seal home. Harnesses are made of skin or from cloth bought at the trading post. Father got his rifle and cartridges at the trading post, too. Like most Eskimo villages, Point Hope is close to the ocean. Although in summer we have many hours of daylight, from November until February, we will not see the sun at all. It is already so cold that our seal and loon have frozen during the short trip home. But no matter how cold it is out of doors, our home is always comfortable. For cooking, Mother uses an iron stove bought from the trading post. The stove heats the one room of our house. We use driftwood when we can find it, but most of our meals are cooked over a fire of seal fat. This is called blubber and makes a very hot fire. We eat lots of raw fish. When fish are frozen, we let them thaw so the skin will come off easily. Explorers who come to the Arctic have grown to like our meals of raw fish. It is our custom to dip the fish in seal oil. The combination of fish and oil gives us some of the vitamins we need. Most of the wood we have is found drifting in the ocean, for trees cannot grow in our land of snow and ice. My father uses his umyak to bring in a floating log. The umyak is his open boat. He also has a boat called the kayak, which is covered. Some of our boats are made of skins stretched over frames of walrus bone. Others we make from canvas and wood bought at the trading post. We Eskimos continually watch the shoreline, always hoping that something useful will come floating in from the sea. Driftwood from the ocean was used to help build our home. The walls are made of wood and stones, banked with earth and snow. During the long evenings, Father makes bracelets or other trinkets from the ivory of walrus tusks. It is easier for him to work when he holds the drill in his teeth. My mother, like all Eskimo women, is very good at making boots and fur clothing. She chews the edges of the skins to make them soft. Then she bites the places where the skins will be sewn together.
Well,
Father wants me to be able to use his harpoon gun when we go hunting for whales in the spring. Mother is teaching my sister to sew. The boots Mother is making will be taken to the trading post to exchange for something the family needs. She has already made us our winter clothing. Except for hunting and visiting our neighbors, we seldom leave home during the winter. Once in a while, we go to the trading post. Our village, Point Hope, is very small, and there is only one store. We have seen everything the storekeeper has on his shelves many times before, but we enjoy looking at them again. The trader knows the value of the skins, furs, and other things we want to trade. He will send them to stores in the cities of southern Alaska. I found these old-fashioned spears in an abandoned settlement. Perhaps some museum will want to buy them from the trader. The trader makes a fair offer for the hatchet my father helped me make. Many more things can be bought at the trading post than when my father was a boy. Ships and airplanes have brought us into closer contact with the rest of the world. We buy the things we cannot make ourselves. Trading is the only way in which we can get many of the supplies we need, for almost nothing grows in our cold land. Although we can buy many things today, our life still depends on hunting. Unless we are successful when we hunt, we will have nothing to trade at the store. As winter nears, everyone waits for the ocean to freeze. When the salt water begins to turn to ice, it is soft and is carried by the tide and ocean currents. Later it will become solid and remain frozen for months. The best time for hunting seals is when they come up through the ice for air. Before the sea ice has frozen hard, Father learns that there is a herd of caribou in the neighborhood. We take the dog team because we need the sled to carry supplies and to bring back the caribou meat if we are lucky. On the way, we pass the graveyard of an abandoned village. The fence is made of whale ribs. Nothing but the cemetery is left of this old village, for all of the people moved to Point Hope years ago. Our sled dogs are the only domestic animals we have. We could not travel far over the winter snow without our dogs. Father does not know exactly where the caribou may be feeding. For all we know, they may have wandered miles from where they were first seen. All we can do is to keep moving and hope to find them. When we come to a place where the snow is soft, the dogs have difficulty hauling the sled. If there is no way to get around the soft snow, we must stop and lighten the load. This is a good place to make camp. We have brought enough food and fuel for several days. To build a shelter, we cut blocks of snow for the walls. Because we will be here only a day or two, we just place sticks of driftwood against the snow walls and use a piece of canvas for a roof. Canvas is very valuable here in the Arctic. It is a product from the outside world that we have been able to get only in recent years. Now that the supplies have been stored at the camp, our dog sled can travel fast, even over soft snow. When Father thinks we are near the caribou, we leave the sled. By turning it on its side, we keep the dogs from running away with it. We try not to frighten the caribou. Father is a good shot. We hope that the animal he has shot is fat, for we must eat fat meat to keep our bodies warm during the cold winter. On our hunting trips, we seldom see other Eskimos, as there are very few people in our part of the world. It often takes a day by dog sled to reach the nearest village. With so few of us living on so much land, we do not expect to meet other hunters from our own or neighboring villages, even when the weather is good. Our camp is just as we left it. We must skin the caribou before it freezes. Otherwise, it would be difficult to remove the hide and cut up the meat. My father teaches me to care for the hides and the meat. By cutting and skinning the animal first, we make the load lighter. Only the useful parts of the caribou will be carried home. is the way our village looks in midwinter. Until spring, the snow will become deeper, and in some places the wind will pile it in drifts many feet high. Sometimes the thermometer will register 50 degrees below zero. For months on end, when the snow is deep, the only sound besides the wind will be the barking of our dogs. Father and I have been lucky on our hunting trip. We are coming home with caribou meat to add to our winter supply of food. We keep the frozen meat on a framework of driftwood. It is high enough above ground so that snow will not bury it. But what is more important, our dogs cannot steal it. My puppy has made a nest deep in the snow to protect himself from the wind. We are happy to get inside the house on a cold day like this. My mother is glad that we are back safely and pleased that we shot a caribou. Sometimes on winter nights, we go to neighborhood parties at the schoolhouse. The school has a gasoline engine, which makes enough electricity to light the building. Our musicians are very proud of their ability. The music is played on Eskimo instruments. Everyone in town seems to enjoy dancing. We think our Eskimo village is a pleasant place, even though it is in one of the loneliest parts of the world. In order to get enough food and clothing for ourselves, everyone must work hard. We depend for help on our faithful dogs. It is because Eskimos hunt and fish and make use of everything which nature provides that we are able to live on the cold, barren shores of the Arctic Ocean.
Why, yes, I meant to tell you. Tom Jones has been transferred. They're moving to Fairbanks, Alaska.
Oh, no.
Well, now, wait a minute. I've been there. It's not so bad. As a matter of fact, it's so nice the population is growing faster than in any other area under the American flag. Wouldn't surprise me if the Joneses like it so well they'll stay. Tom thought they might.
Well, it still must be an awful chore, moving that far.
Why, there's nothing to it. You saw the Joneses walk out with a couple of suitcases, just as if they were going on a vacation. The moving men do all the rest. Tom called it moving in the Martin manner.
Well, that china is certainly being packed carefully. I don't see how it could possibly get broken.
Oh, of course not. Nothing is ever damaged in the slightest. The Martin Company has a special procedure, almost a ritual for moving household goods. Every davenport, every chair, every dish, in fact, even the smallest items, are carefully wrapped in the cleanest and softest padding. Anything going to Alaska is transferred at Seattle into an overseas van pack, which is really a small truck body. This gives everything double protection and also makes it very easy to handle. Anywhere you live, Martin van lines can move you to Alaska in a jiffy.
Well, if that's all there is to it, maybe it would be fun. They say Alaska is beautiful.
Here you see the Joneses' household goods has arrived in Seattle, and they've transferred it from the big van to the overseas van pack. All nicely padded. Snug as a bug in a rug. Up she goes into the ship, everything perfectly protected. All set for Alaska.
Oh, there are the Joneses again. Say, this is going to be fun.
You're right. Going to Alaska by ocean steamer is one of the most delightful trips in the world. You follow the inside passage, you know. It has fjords just like Norway.
I've always wondered, what is an inside passage?
Why, it's the space between the islands lying just off the coast and the coast itself. The islands protect the water inside, making it smooth. The inside passage to Alaska is 1,000 miles long. It's a busy, well-charted waterway, almost like a river. There, you can see on the map. You sail up the coast with the islands between you and the open ocean. They call it sailing sheltered seas. The first city you reach in Alaska is Ketchikan, 750 miles northwest of Seattle. Fishing is the main industry here. Like most cities of the southeastern or panhandle Alaska, Ketchikan is built on the side of a mountain. Nearly every home has a beautiful view. When we get to Wrangell, a little further up the inside passage, we're in the heart of the totem pole country. Totem poles decorate the city hall and even some of the homes. This chap is building himself a new home overlooking town and harbor in Wrangell. Sailing north, we go through Wrangell Narrows, where you can almost reach out and pick flowers ashore. Here's Petersburg with the Daily Mail plane landing. Juneau is the capital of Alaska, ringed by towering peaks. It's also the center for nearby gold, nickel, copper, cobalt, and iron mining areas. As on any ocean voyage, seagulls are always with us. Soon we go out into the Gulf of Alaska. You find a more spacious kind of beauty here. Vitus Bering sailed into these waters in 1741, discovering and claiming Alaska for Russia. In 1867, we bought Alaska for $7,200,000. It certainly was a bargain. Alaska is 1/5 the size of the United States. It has huge forests, rich farming land, vast mineral deposits, and great natural beauty. Seward is the main seaport for interior Alaska. Its main industry is shipping, but there's some truck farming and dairying too. Seward and nearby Valdez have the farthest north year-round ice-free harbors in North America. Seward is surrounded by wild game country, but sometimes you have to climb a mountain to find the game.
What's this bearded man looking for?
Mountain goats. They live up in those crags, believe it or not. On the lower slopes are bear, moose, and smaller animals. The Alaska Railroad begins at Seward and runs north through Anchorage to Fairbanks, a distance of nearly 500 miles. Completed by the federal government in 1923, it served strategically during World War II and was then rebuilt. Today, it's one of the most modern railroads in North America.
What's that?
Behind the train? Why, that's Bartlett Glacier, halfway between Seward and Anchorage. Like nearly all glaciers up north, it's slowly melting and receding. That huge hunk of ice is tens of thousands of years old, and it's so big it doesn't melt very fast.
That's quite a city, isn't it?
That's Anchorage, the Chicago of the North, a center of defense, industry, mining, and agriculture.
Did they go swimming in Alaska?
Why, certainly. Summer temperatures up north often are in the 80s and 90s. This is a lake near Anchorage. From Anchorage, a number of airlines fan out to cover the entire North Country. We're going to fly on one of those airlines, Revolution Airways. It flies the longest route of all, 1,300 miles from Anchorage southwest into the central Aleutians.
But I thought they had such terrible weather in the Aleutian Islands. Lots of fog and storms.
The Aleutian Islands have an undeserved reputation for bad weather. Actually, they have a lot of beautiful weather, but they seldom get credit for it. This is Mount Pavlov, an active volcano, but not smoking just at the moment. These are the Ogallene Pinnacles, vertical fingers of rock wearing a glove made of ice and snow. We're now flying over one of the heaviest concentrations of volcanoes in all the world. Here we are right alongside Mount Shishaldin, more than 9,000 feet high. This mountain has been smoking like this for centuries. Its nickname is Smoking Moses. You notice there's no snow or ice on its sides. It's too hot. One lake green, the other blue. Almost like a chemist's laboratory. What you see down there is not tundra. It's grass. Grass that often grows 6 feet high. Abundance of grass and favorable climate make the Aleutian Islands excellent grazing ground. A couple of sheep ranches operate near here.
What place is this?
This is Dutch Harbor, which was bombed by the Japanese during World War II. We had 70,000 troops quartered here during the height of the war. Today, Dutch Harbor no longer is fortified. One thing that most people don't realize about the Aleutian Islands is that they're the southernmost portion of Alaska. The most southerly Aleutian Island, in fact, is only 249 miles north of the latitude on which Seattle lies. Now we're back in Anchorage, and we're going to take the Alaska Railroad northward on one of the most exciting train trips you ever saw. Leaving Anchorage, we soon cross Matanuska Valley, a prosperous farming area. Seen from the air, this fertile valley is checkered with green fields that have been hewn out of the forest. Agriculture in Alaska has expanded greatly in the last few years. These are some hunters getting off with their guns and packs. They're going moose hunting. Why, here's a moose now. Better eat fast, young fella. Better yet, get the heck out of here, or you'll end up hanging on this rack with your daddy. The Alaska Railroad is one of the most northerly railroads in the world. Running nearly 500 miles north from Seward, it almost reaches the Arctic Circle. It crosses 5 mountain ranges and runs through some of the most scenic country on Earth. Daily trips are made by passenger trains from Anchorage running north and from Fairbanks running south. In each case, the train leaves at 8:30 in the morning and arrives at 8 o'clock in the evening. It's a delightful trip. The Alaska Railroad also has excellent dining car service. Shortly after noon, we get our first view of Mount McKinley. You see it in the distance, partly hidden by clouds. Autumn is one of the most beautiful times to visit Alaska. Trees are aflame with color. Skies are bright. The weather is still warm. The Alaska Railroad runs through the edge of McKinley National Park. A splendid resort hotel is operated there, and these are tourists taking one of the hotel's limousines for a trip 90 miles down into the park. McKinley Park is the home and haven for a large wildlife population. Most of the wild creatures are very tame, for no hunting is allowed inside the park. In autumn, the ptarmigan, very numerous, are changing from their brown summer dress into their winter plumage of white. Canada jays are plentiful too, and always ready for a handout. There goes a caribou. These animals are not found in any other national park. Hunting is allowed with a camera, and McKinley Park is a photographer's paradise. Not only amateurs, but professional photographers as well come here to record wildlife in its native haunts and to shoot breathtaking scenery on every hand. The limousine trip with or without camera is an unforgettable experience. The most photographed object of all in the park, of course, is Mount McKinley. The limousine takes you within about 30 miles of the lofty mountain. McKinley is the highest mountain mass standing alone anywhere on Earth. Nearly 5 vertical miles of rock, snow, and ice It rises from a plateau only 2,000 to 3,000 feet high. McKinley Park is our country's second largest national park. The largest one, Katmai National Monument, also is located in Alaska. Going on to Fairbanks, we find another large city, another center for mining, agriculture, industry, and national defense. Gold mining still is important up north, with most of it done by huge dredges that float in the ponds they dig as they move across the tundra. Although Fairbanks is near the Arctic Circle, both cows and higher education flourish here. The University of Alaska, near the city, has one of the finest mining schools in the world. It also has a geophysical institute where astronomical and radiological research of strategic value is carried on. It's coeducational, too. Like other Alaska cities, Fairbanks is growing like Iowa corn, fast. Day and night, the streets are crowded, and there's a chronic housing shortage. You can tell that by just watching how fast a vacant dwelling soon is occupied. Even the igloos are snapped up by eager home seekers as soon as they arrive. Fairbanks is the center of a thriving tourist industry, with vacationers eager to take flights out over the countryside in bush planes. Bob Rice Alaska Tours offers a fascinating trip to an Indian village less than an hour away. The pilot points out a sharp dividing line in the forest below. Permafrost on the shady green side, unfrozen ground on this side. Green spruces over yonder, brown birch trees near us. In the distance lies the broad Yukon River Valley. The village we're going to visit is Minto, on the Tanana River. Population 150 full-blooded Athabaskan Indians and 2 white people, the school teacher and his wife. Mabel, the Indian guide, meets the plane. She tells the tourists her people are happy to welcome visitors. This is really a visit to a bygone age. These people are living very nearly as their ancestors lived for centuries gone by. Their food is mainly fish and game, like those salmon hanging in the sun to dry. Minto is a quiet, restful village, and the Indians are quite happy, though very poor. They do have some labor-saving devices, however, like this fish wheel on the Tanana River. It catches salmon merely by scooping them up as they swim past. The salmon fall into a trough, and the Indians go out and pick them up. It's as simple as that. The day before these tourists arrived, a small boy was lost by falling into the river. Most of the villagers gathered on the shore while a search was made. Despite their grief, the villagers welcome the tourists and permit the photographer to take pictures. For sale at the village store are beautiful birch bark baskets. The tourists examine them with great interest, trying to select some they'll buy. The baskets are sewn with willow roots and trimmed with spruce. One of Alaska's greatest man-made assets is its system of sturdy, well-constructed highways. Most of these highways are paved, and they take the traveler through a fairyland of scenic beauty. The motorist who comes prepared for roughing it, who really enjoys outdoor life, will find Alaska's road system an open gateway to enchantment. Most of Alaska's major cities are connected by paved highways, and the motorist from the States can reach this highway system by driving north across Canada and up the Alaska Highway. Lodges are found along the main highways, many of them affording very comfortable accommodations and good meals. Alaska's highways, you can drive straight past the North Pole.
Ooh, goodness, that makes me shiver.
If you were a real Alaskan, you'd love this. It's cold, certainly, but if you're dressed for winter and prepared for it, Alaska in the cold months is as jolly and friendly as Santa Claus. Alaskans like winter so much, in fact, that they keep most of their highways open, even heating the culverts so ice won't form and clog them up. The highways of Alaska are busy in winter as in summer, with freight and passenger vehicles using them constantly. Motorists say that driving at 30 below zero is ideal. Different from all other parts of Alaska is the region around Nome, the historic city where millions of dollars worth of gold have been taken from the underlying sands. Ships arriving at Nome must anchor in the open sea, for there's no deep harbor. Their cargo is unloaded into lighters and hauled ashore. Pack ice freezes over the Bering Sea at Nome in November. It breaks up and melts in June. 3 out of every 4 of the residents of Nome are Eskimos. Like the Indians, they get most of their food from nature. These Eskimo women are picking berries on a tundra slope near the city. The red ones are low bush cranberries. The black ones are lingonberries. Very intelligent and gifted, the Eskimos love to draw scenes of Northland life. There are many artists among them, like Wilbur Wallach. America's only tin mine is located 90 miles northwest of Nome. Working 12 months a year, which it can do because it's an underground mine, it has mainly Eskimos as employees. The tin mine lies in the bleak, barren mountains of Seward Peninsula, 75 miles east of the mainland of Siberia. With the Iron Curtain rustling almost beside them, the Eskimos live in their Quonset huts, happy that the white man's industry has come to provide them with steady jobs. Like other natives in Alaska, they're doing their best to step across the high threshold which separates their Stone Age lives from modern civilization.
Oh, there are the Joneses again.
They just got here in time, too. The film's nearly over.
And their household goods got there at the same time they did. Still in the overseas van pack.
Yes, sir. Martin Van Lines was on the job all the way. I'd call that a good moving picture.